Hello friends, this video is all about a statement Bola Tinubu made in 1997 when he says, "I don't believe in one Nigeria." I saw this thing on the internet and I was shocked that a man who says he doesn't believe in one Nigeria all of a sudden becomes enjoying the benefit of the presidency of Nigeria. How did we allow a man who made that statement in 1997 that he doesn't believe in one Nigeria all of a sudden become the president of that country, enjoying all the benefits of the presidency with him and his family? How did this happen? How did Nigeria fall to that trick when a man, if in America, in a civilized world, if somebody made that statement that he doesn't believe in that country, would never come near any seat of power. In anywhere in the world, in the Western world, a politician make that statement will never come near the seat of power. In fact, no politician will come near you. You are as bad as anything. But in Africa, somebody made a statement in 1997 and said, "I don't believe in one Nigeria," and all of a sudden, he's the president of Nigeria. That is unbelievable. So, and I decided to write up to ask some questions. So I decided to say I'm going to put a write-up to ask some questions. How did we come about this? So the title of this video is going to be, "I don't believe in one Nigeria." Tinubu said this in 1997. So Tinubu in 1997, "I don't believe in one Nigeria." What changed? Imagine going back to April 13, 1997. Imagine going back to April 13, 1997. Nigeria was under military rule. Democracy had been crushed. The annulment of June 12, 1993 presidential election have plunged the country into a political crisis, and many pro-democracy activists were operating under enormous pressure. It was against that background that Bola Tinubu, then living in exile in London, granted an interview to This Day newspaper. And the headline attributed to that interview was, "I don't believe in one Nigeria, Tinubu." That was in April 13, 1997. That statement is now particularly significant because the man associated with those words eventually became the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that raises a legitimate questions. I have a series of questions that I'm asking here, so please, you guys should follow me carefully. What changed? What changed? Let us be very clear. This is not an argument that a politician is forbidden from changing his mind. People change. Political circumstances change. Countries change. And politicians are allowed to evolve. But when a politician historically positioned appears dramatically different from the position he occupies after attaining the highest office in the country, citizens have every right to ask for an explanation. That is democracy. Context matters. In that way, context matters. Tinubu's statement must be understood within the political environment of 1997. Nigeria was under military dictatorship. The democratic process had been suppressed and pro-democracy activists were demanding the restoration of constitutional government. Therefore, it would be intellectually dishonest to take a statement made in that environment and automatically assume that it means exactly what it would mean if the same words were spoken today. Perhaps Tinubu was expressing his rejections of the Nigerian political structure under military dictatorship. I'm just assuming. Perhaps he was speaking about the failure of the Nigerian state to respect democracy. I'm just assuming. Perhaps his positions evolved after the restoration of civilian government in 1999. I'm also just assuming. If that is the explanation, Nigerians deserve to hear it. And there is nothing wrong with explaining how one's political thinking evolved over nearly 3 decades. But there is where accountability comes in, friends. The problem begins when politicians expect the public to forget what they previously said in the past. History does not work that way, friends. A politician old speech, interviews, and declarations remain part of the public records. So the appropriate response is not to erase them at all. It is to explain them. I haven't seen any journalist question him to ask him, what do you mean by that statement in 1997? So the question to President Tinubu is straightforward. When you said in 1997, I don't believe in one Nigeria, what exactly do you mean? Do you mean you rejected Nigeria as a geographically entity? Do you mean you rejected the political structure created and maintained by the military? Do you mean that the Nigerian of that period had failed so badly that you no longer believe in its political arrangements? Or was there any other meaning? Friends, most importantly, when did your position change? If I'm interviewing Tinubu, that's what I'm going to ask him. When did your position change? Because today you are the president of that same country, Nigeria. You are no longer an opposition politician. You are no longer an activist speaking from exile. You are no longer simply citizens, criticizing the Nigerian state from outside the country. You are now the constitutional head of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. How? You represent Nigeria. You defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria. You take an oath to preserve and protect and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That makes your historical statement particularly relevant to Nigerians. Not because people cannot change, but because citizens have the right to understand the political journey of a person entrusted with the leadership of the country. And this should apply to every politician, regardless of which party he belongs to. Let us not make this exclusively about Tinubu. If Peter Obi, Atiku, Abubakar, Rabi Kwankwaso, Bola Tinubu, Goodluck Jonathan, Muhammad Buhari, or any other Nigerian politician made a controversial statement in the past, Nigerians have the right to examine it now. But the examination should not be fabrication. We should distinguish between what the historical record actually says, and what we want the historical record to say now. That distinction is extremely important. The fact that Tinubu was associated with the 1997 This Day headline does not automatically prove that he wants Nigeria to disintegrate today. That conclusion would rather require additional evidence. But neither should people pretend that the historical statement never existed. It exists. Both extremes are intellectually dishonest. This is why archives matters. Newspaper from decades ago matters. Old interviews matters. Election document matters. Court record matters. Political speeches matters. Because politicians can change their positions. But the historical record allows citizens to ask, what did you believe then? What did you believe now? Why did you change? And should we thrust your new positions? These are legitimate democratic questions. The real issue is not whether Tinubu was allowed to change. Okay? Of course he was. The real issue is whether Nigerians deserve a honest explanation of that change. And my answer is yes. A mature democracy does not demand that politicians remain prisoners of everything they said 20, 30 years ago. But a mature democracy also does not permit politicians to rewrite their own history. If your position change, explain it. If your circumstances change, explain them. If the country change, explain how that affected your thinking. If you were misunderstood, clarify what you actually meant. That is how political accountability works. So let us ask that questions one more time, friends. In 1997, Bola Tinubu was quoted by This Day under the headline, I don't believe in one Nigeria. Today, Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president of Nigeria. What change? That question should not be answered with insults. It should not be answered with tribalism. It should not be answered by attacking the person asking the questions. It should be answered with fact, historical context, and evidence. Because Nigerians deserve to know the political history of the people who govern them. History should not be erased because it is inconvenient. Politicians' evolution should not be hidden because it's uncomfortable. And accountability should not depend on which political party is in power. Ask the question, friends. Check the archive. Read the original interview. Hear their explanations. Then let Nigerians make their own judgment. That is what is called democracy. Stronger closing on this particular issue is a politician has the right to change his mind. But the people have the right to ask when, why, and how that change happened, especially when the politician eventually becomes the president. So friends, what change? We deserve to know what change, or explain more in details with historical evidence what you mean by that statement in 1997. As I said, you must be lucky to be the president of Nigeria knowing that he made such statement in 1997. So, these are my questions. So when I saw that clip on the internet, I said, you know what? I'm going to put up a write-up on this to ask my questions. So friends, let me hear from you in the comment sections. What do you guys think about it? I need to read from you guys. Okay? So keep watching. And then if this is your first time coming across my page, you're welcome. And hope to see you guys again. Share the video. Thumbs up if you like the content. Keep watching. Bye-bye.